Irish colours there as well.
Oh yeah, I'm a kind of fanatical knitter, Father.
Indeed, and a great way to while away some of the...
It does when you're sitting there like at home and maybe watching the TV or whatever you're doing, you know.
Yes. I might pull down this so we can maybe see your face a bit better and maybe see the Genzi as well. So
yeah, but somebody was telling me this is the Kerry colours, Father.
It is actually, as it turns out, kind of dark green and yellow, orange yellow. Yeah. So good. You're supporting the kingdom.
That's it, Father.
Both
yes,
kingdoms.
Absolutely.
Good.
Great. But it's enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. And the girls were asking me to bring in the knitting needles and show them how to knit.
We should have lessons, and like we have a camera here, and how we could get some lessons. And what we could do is move away the microphones, or at least have them hanging somewhere. And you could do a little cookery lesson for the scones while you're at it, and then come out with the needles, and away you go.
Absolutely, Father.
So if anybody wants to get in touch with us about knitting needles or cooking our scones,
or you want to give us any advice on it, I'd be delighted with it. So you can text or WhatsApp at 089 467 2000. Email info@radiomaria.ie or phone 014123456, and Thomas would be delighted to hear from you. And then you could write again to Radio Maria Ireland, Unit 8, St Anthony's Business Park, Ballymount Road, Dublin 22.
There you are. Thanks, Roisin. So again, if you're in the north or outside of Ireland, to just +353 is the international dialing code,
right.
And 141234456. And +353 89467 2000. Or you can always drop a comment here, or a thumbs up, or a like, or a smiley face, whatever you wish, here on Facebook and YouTube. Likewise, we do like to get your feedback, so please do get in touch with us. A lady on the phone a little while ago, Thomas answered the phone. They're hosting their Christmas fete already. This is the time of year for Christmas gathering. I suppose actually good to get it in early, because who knows what restrictions will come our way. We just don't know as things are unfolding. But Mary's Meals, whom we are certainly great advocates for here, they feed starving children in schools in very needy countries, especially in Africa. So the Christmas fete is on in Trinity Hall in Letterkenny, very near to the cathedral. So one of the wonderful volunteers for Mary's Meals gave a call. Just would give that a shout out. It's on right now, 10:30 through to 3:30. So there's time enough to pop over after lunch. If you're in the vicinity of Letterkenny and just next to the cathedral there, Trinity Hall, the Christmas fete for Mary's Meals, and this is a great fundraiser. And they do absolutely marvellous work, feeding millions of children.
Yes, it's fantastic, Father.
It is lovely. They sent me a letter again looking for a few bob for Christmas, like all the charities do.
Yes.
If you give it all, you'll be flooded with requests. And maybe that's not such a bad thing, you know.
I think the more you give, the more you get, Father, you know.
Sure, and what untold good is coming of that. We know here, being you know, aspiring charity ourselves, and we haven't yet obtained our charitable status. The application has been there and been processed for the last number of years, and we know it's gone for final review. That's as much as we heard the last few months. So we're hoping that will get over the line at some stage. They've certainly been through the hoops with all the documentation, so I'm glad that sort of process is there. But like that, we're in this very same boat with so many other charities that will be pressed upon, I'm sure, in the times that we're in, and with the struggles and with the economic situation unfolding in the same way, all kinds of things going on. But with your help indeed, and who was it? There was a lady rang me the other day. The first name escapes me now, but we were praying for her late mum, I think Margaret Danaher. And she was a lady, she told me, she met me, we were doing a promotion down in a place called Fiohanna, which is not that far away from where the parish I ministered in Fremont and Tullylease in the northwest end of Cork, Fiohanna's Limerick diocese. And she mentioned that she was speaking to me there at the parish. We met the people there, and again, we've met so many people.
Yes, it's hard to remember them all.
Everybody, but at any rate, her mum since died, God rest her, and she asked for prayers for her mum. But she was doing what I had to do myself of late, so dispensing the will and the legacy and whatever that she left.
Yeah, it's really hard.
But she said she couldn't believe the number of charities her mum supported. You know, that she was going through all her stuff and all these letters from this charity and that, and she'd always send them all a few bob.
God, that's wonderful.
So I was telling you, our daughter, I think is it Patricia is her name. I was telling her daughter, you know, she had friends in all these places, and that all helps. That helps to the good.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
she'll be up in heaven now, Mother.
Please God, and these people interceding for her. I remember with my mum, I did the same. There's about 15 different charities. I was telling her this, that she left a legacy towards Radio Maria, of course, is one of them. All her favourites, and went through them all, and so about 15 of them that I sort of picked a few that I knew were her favourites too. She hadn't listed them, but they all got something. And in the letter that I sent to each of them, I said, kindly remember my mum in your prayers, or say a prayer for her.
Lovely.
So at the very least, you know, on the strength of her generosity, that there might be some few prayers said, which would be much more potent than all the whatever the money might come to, whatever that might be. So it's just it's a great consideration to have, and something that we're mindful of here to encourage our listeners. You know, if it is you're making out a will, and that look after your family first, or do all the necessary things you need to first. That's always first and foremost with a will or a legacy. But leave a little aside maybe for the poor, or for your favourite charities, or indeed if Radio Maria is one that you appreciate, please do put our names in there somewhere. But again, look after all the other important needs first and foremost. I remember a lady years ago, she came to me for advice about her will, you know. And I said, oh, don't be asking me those questions. I get myself in a whole heap of trouble. What she might do or not, who she'd leave it to, and so on. And I said, look, whatever you do, remember all your family first. You know, sort all them out.
Yes.
And that certainly was her desire. That was her, you know, in the end, that was the outcome. So just glad that it went kind of the right way, you know, because it's not something you'd want to be too involved in. No. I think, you know.
Difficult, Father. Yes,
it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
You don't want them all fighting with one another when you're gone.
No. That's the last thing you'd want. And then there's a old lady I met, you know, she was kind of so frustrated with the whole thing. She said, look, I'll leave it all to the cat and dogs home, and you can all figure it out yourselves afterwards. So, we'll leave some of it to the cat and dogs home, certainly, if you like cats and dogs. Anyway, so maybe that's just to put that out there, sow that seed in your mind. If it's something that you're attending to, do give consideration to Radio Maria, and all the other many wonderful charities, again, that do such great good. Like I say, everyone probably has their own favourites, and we're well known for that in Ireland, anyway, supporting charities. So
it is, and it's wonderful too, Father. You can go to the charity shops, you know, helping them.
Well, you can teach us a thing or two about that, Roisin. You're somewhat of an aficionado in that department.
Well, I love going to the charity shops, Father, because you are getting something nice and they're getting the money, and it's like it's all for the good. Everything is for the good, you know, and you get some beautiful items now, you know, and then you can pass them all back again to them.
Sure. And maybe that's the place to consider doing your Christmas shopping.
That's it, yeah. You know? The Vincent de Paul and all of them, wonderful, you know, the...
So there it is. So if you're in Letterkenny anyway, the Christmas Fete is on there in Trinity Hall right now until 3:30 for Mary's Meals. Very worthy cause indeed. Patricia Friel, who's she works with Mary's Meals, a sort of national coordinator, I suppose, has been on with us many times. We'll get her on again for another update, I'm sure, leading into Christmas as well. So very good. I was looking at the order this morning. I was telling listeners a little bit earlier, Roisin, now that we're at the end of we're on the last day of the liturgical year. It's the liturgical calendar. And I might just again, I've recommended it before, that this is a very handy little book to have, the liturgical calendar. This is the outgoing year, and our new one has a slightly different cover on it. There's a Pope in the front of the cover of last year's one.
Green one now. That's the Irish one, Father.
Matching your Kenzie.
Lovely.
The jumper there. But in the back of it, they list all the priests and religious who have died in the course of the year. You know?
Oh gosh, they're all listed down.
For each month,
my goodness,
on the anniversaries of their when they died.
After died. Oh my goodness, that's wonderful. You can keep them in the prayers, Father.
We were just going through the morning prayer, and I was sort of scanning my eyes, and I said, I know that man, I know this man, I know. Look, I know all these, and these would have, like Vincent O'Donoghue, Father Vincent, ministered for years in my own diocese. One of my own. There's a couple of more from my own diocese that I would have known or worked with, and and quite a number of religious are mentioned there as well. The Columbians, the African missions, the Franciscans, the Salesians there as well. That you'd have probably known to share. If you went through that, I'm sure you'd know.
Yes,
some of
I'm sure I would.
ones.
Because of the priests have died up in Kingswood too.
Yeah, I mean, even that name jumps out straight away. Father Jerry Ryan, Holy Ghost Spirit in Kimmage Manor.
Yes.
I used to have breakfast with him some of the mornings when we'd kind of coincide for communion here and he was the man who ministered in Alaska and was very fond of Frank Duff, he told me, and used to meet Frank Duff when he'd come home on holidays. And he was the one who, he had forgotten himself, but who had written to Frank Duff, because I researched the letters after to find his name among Frank's letters, and there it was. Frank was writing to him, telling him he was delighted to hear that the Legion prayer card was now translated into Eskimo.
Oh, wow.
So talk about reaching the ends of the earth.
Oh my goodness,
so
fantastic.
There's his name, Father Jerry Ryan. So
yes.
he had kind of a dry sense of humour. You kind of have to get to know him to understand, where he was coming from. And the lads used to tease him no end, and he was always up for it at the breakfast table the other minute as well, So that was just hitting me. They were jumping off the pages. I was reading a bit earlier on, all these good men who have died and spent their lives in ministry. How many of them there are? There's quite a long list. There must be maybe a dozen or so for each month of the year, or more sometimes as well.
My lovely cousin, Father Bruno McKnight, Father. He's a Capuchin.
Yes.
He died.
Yes. When did he die, though? Was that not
the year before last? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
He might be in here, actually.
Yes.
Might be in here. So God rest them all, and as November continues, obviously, we'll lift all the holy souls up to the Lord. But that just kind of struck me on the calendar there. It was nice to see them all listed. My name will be in there some year. I hope I won't be forgotten.
I hope not for a long time, Father.
You just don't know these things. You just don't know. So anyways, God rest them all, and may their good deeds go with them, as we say. May the good deeds go with them. I have to stop looking at the names, because straight away I see a name like, all the memories come back. I know this man, and so on. So very good.
It's ahead of us all, Father, whether we admit it or not.
I might be a bit slow to acknowledge it or to recognise that as well. So very good. I received a little text. There's a text came into the studio phone. Where do I know? I'll dig it out here again. Just a question for Chatechsis here. It comes from Magella, and she says, what exactly was the first sin? Was it that God did not want human beings to have knowledge? And isn't it ignorance that brings most sin? And could you explain?
Adam and Eve, Father.
Adam and Eve, the first sin, and it's described for us in the garden.
Yes, it did.
As
they were told not to do that, and they did it.
Pretty much. That's a good summary right there. And it's depicted, of course, as the fruit of the tree of knowledge.
Yes, the tree. Yes.
So it's not an apple tree or a pear tree.
No.
We're not told.
Yes.
But the tree of knowledge, which is interesting. And so, exactly what you described. They did what they were. Or they didn't do what they were told, I suppose.
Exactly.
They did what they shouldn't have done. So the first sin was disobedience.
Disobedience to God. But then weren't they tempted by the devil?
Yeah, crafty little snake that he is.
Yes.
That if you participate of this tree, if you indulge your thirst for knowledge, let's say, you will be like God.
Yes, told lies.
Yeah, so he was lying to them from the outset, and it was pride that caused the sin, because they wanted to be like God. They wanted to be greater than they were, without acknowledging that, look, we are creatures of God, and we are subject to God. We are not God. And this is the sin that we see today. And I think that's really what Magella is hinting at there, isn't it? Ignorance that brings most sin. Well, it's certainly it's pride, and it's maybe that thirst for knowledge that where we want to be like God, or want to be God.
Gosh, yes.
With authority over life and death. So we want to live forever in this world, maybe, or have it all here, when we know we can't.
No.
And we want to dominate, really. It's kind of in our nature. Again, the 7 deadly sins will summarize it for us as well: pride and anger, envy, greed, gluttony, lust and sloth. We'd rather self-indulge and to be in charge of our own little kingdom, rather than submit to God's authority and to the truth.
And trusting in God, Father. You trust in God, things are much better.
Sure, it's the bottom line, for sure, to trust in God and to accept our place, or our role, if you like, as simply servants, as being gifted with life, and with anything else that in between birth and death comes as a gift from God, and that we're at His service. That's the first commandment: to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our soul and mind, and our neighbour as ourselves. That's where charity and all we've been talking about there comes into play as well.
Yes.
So I hope that helps a little bit. Majella, I texted her back there to let her know we just bring it up for the catechesis to share it with us. So it's worth realising that underneath it all lies this first sin of our parents, and that we are, I won't say victims so much as we suffer the consequences of that sin, and we share in those consequences by having a weakening of our will and a darkening of our intellect. So we're fallen creatures as a result, which is why Christ came to restore the fall as the new Adam, and Our Lady as the new Eve, to restore, as it were, and even make greater. Happy sin of Adam, isn't that what the Exalted tells us? That a greater thing has come to pass.
Absolutely.
In
Jesus
Christ
came on the earth to save us all.
And that the Lord, out of our weakness and out of our frailty and out of the mess that we make of things, can always bring things to a better, new heights. But it's only through mercy, as you say, trust and mercy, and forgiveness, and letting go. I want to do my will and have it only my way all the time. How can there be trust?
Doesn't work.
No. How can there be reconciliation? How can there be peace? None of these things. That's pride all the time at work there. I'm right, you're wrong. I don't care what you say, you're still wrong. And I refuse to admit that I'm wrong. That's woeful. That's just a recipe for disaster. We're going to just alienate one another. And we can't take any of that with us into the next life.
Oh, absolutely not.
Sorry.
And where would you be going the next night if you're doing that now? That's the thing to be thinking about,
what
know.
Chance have you got? So there's none of that in heaven. That's not the Lord's way at all. So when we see all these things happening around us that are creating division and creating wars and rumors of wars and separation and anger and all these things, there's pride certainly at work there. There's sin is at work. There's no doubt about it. So that's certainly it. So Martha was in touch as well. Just a few messages coming out here. So thanks to all at Radio Maria Ireland. Today is the Feast of the Miraculous Medal, the 27th. Legionaries have given out quite a few of those in our time. Quite a few is an underestimate, I would say, Martha. I would say millions upon millions of medals. The Legion of Mary has used it as its centrepiece in the Vexillum, the Legion Standard, and has always used it as an instrument of conversion. Have you ever been to the Rue de Bac, Roisin, where the origin of the medal, Miraculous Medal?
Is that in Paris?
In Paris.
Yes, I was.
Nice.
Yes.
And do you remember any of the details up on the altar? It's beautiful.
Oh, gosh,
church.
no, it was a long time ago, Father. Yes. Sorry about that.
It's been a while since I was there too, back in the 80s, I'd say. But it's kind of emblazoned in my mind. I was there a couple of times, I'd say.
Yeah.
We were a bit mad as young people. There was a great priest we were with, a bunch of young people, and we used to get in the car of a Friday night from London that time. Get in the car of a Friday night, drive overnight to Dover, Calais, Paris, and then do a whistle-stop tour of all the shrines in Paris, including Rue de Bac, Sacré-Cœur, Notre Dame, Place de Victoire. They're the lovely shrines all around Paris. And just tear around Paris for the day,
Yeah.
visiting all these places, and then drive back and be back in London for the Saturday night.
My goodness, that was some journey, Father.
Insane. You'd have to be young to do it. So
Fantastic.
it was a lovely experience. We did it several times, and it was mad as a hatter. But we visited the Rue de Bac those occasions. But up at the front of the church, of course, and over the altar is the lovely artistic depiction of Saint Catherine Labore
Yes.
with her hands on Our Lady's lap.
Yes.
And she's sitting on the chair, and there she is with her. And the chair that Our Lady sat on is there in front of the altar.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. I remember seeing her body is there, Father, in
Correct.
the church. Yes.
Yes, her incorrupt body. And it's extraordinary to look at a glass coffin, and she looks as if she's just asleep. Most extraordinary.
Beautiful.
And the opposite altar is the incorrupt body of Saint
Vincent de Paul, Father, isn't he there?
Well, he would have been very much involved there, but RAC next door, he would have founded the Daughters of Charity anyway, been involved. But it's his heart, I think, that's incorrupt. Not in the Rue de Bac, I don't think, but elsewhere in Paris. Never got to visit there now, but should have, of course. But no, the other lady who's incorrupt and is there is St. Louise de Marillac. She's the foundress, with St. Vincent de Paul, I think, of the Daughters of Charity. She's on the other altar, and again, she is lying incorrupt there too.
Beautiful. Gosh.
So most extraordinary, and again, Daughters of Charity, Vincent de Paul, because this is the time of year again, all the great works of charity to the poor.
Yes, did fantastic work.
Yeah. We have his image downstairs. He's holding the little child's hand there. He's feeding the child. Same as all these old, lovely old images of it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, indeed, the Miraculous Medal is an amazing instrument of evangelization, and an amazing instrument of conversion.
I've had it for years, Father.
Good on you.
And I don't show it. I should.
Oh, keep it in there. Mine's
it's in there
as
in
well
my heart,
too.
Yeah.
You can wear the medal. Like, as our lady asked us to wear it, not to, not to have as a decoration somewhere, but to wear it on your neck. And the prayer around Our Lady on the medal.
Oh, now you'll have to remind me, Father.
You know it. Oh, Mary.
Conceived without sin, pray for us. We have recourse to thee.
There you go. The prayer in the middle, that Our Lady, that's designed by heaven, because this was the images that were shown to St. Catherine front and back, with the image of Our Lady, the rays coming from her hand, standing on the world, and some of the rays were missing. And St. Catherine asked her, well, why are there some rays are missing? She said, these are the graces that people don't ask for. Hence the prayer then, O Mary, conceived without sin. Pray for us, we have recourse to thee. She's standing on the globe, and her foot is crushing the serpent, overcoming evil. And then you turn the medal around, and on the back is the 12 stars, which can depict the 12 apostles, or Our Lady's virtues, a kind of crown of stars. The woman crowned with the stars of Revelation. So Genesis is the front, where she's crushing the head of the serpent, and on the back, the woman of Revelation on the back, with the letter M for Mary and Mother, and then the cross and the bar that runs through the M on the back is a symbol of the Church, the Mother of the Church. And underneath the letter M, then, the two hearts. One is the Sacred Heart of Jesus,
and they're entwined, aren't they?
And the other one is the Immaculate Heart of Mary as well. So this was designed by heaven. This was the image shown to St. Catherine Labore. And there was resistance at first, as the Church is always cautious about these things, doesn't rush into them at all. But once the Archbishop of Paris had given permission to say, look, try it and see, kind of thing, it just took off. Millions, in fact billions really, of miraculous medals have since been circulated. So a lovely gift to give to somebody. If you can get a gold one or a silver one with a nice gold or silver chain, have it blessed and ask them to wear it, and certainly learn about the story and explain the story as you're giving it. That's something as legionaries we'd be trained to do. Have you seen the little silver medals with the blue string on? You kind of come across those?
Yes, I have seen them, yes, Father.
Yeah, the Daughters of Charity here in Dublin, I think, string medals. The older sisters, they must spend hours at it, and they'll sell them to you in bundles of string medals, and they're very useful. And to have a bundle handy, and
you can give them out. You
can give them out then when you're meeting people. And my little trick always with the Legion work was I'd explain the medal as I was tying the knot in the top of the string, and I'd open the string and get them to, and hand it to them with the string open, so they'd put it on straight away.
Good.
No
very
case sort of
good.
stuffing in your pocket. You just put it on you. And I'd actually, obviously, as a priest, then I could bless
You
the
could
medal
bless
on
it
the
then.
spot too.
All right,
And
yes.
hand it to them. So I've done that many times, and it's kind of bread and butter Legion of Mary work,
Yes.
handing out medals. And I've often found that you introduce the Miraculous Medal into the conversation, and the conversation turns to the good. You know, you could be talking about, I don't know what, the weather or what other.
Yes.
And you say, well, can I give you a little present from Our Lady? And you talk about the medal and you put it on. I said, there's a lovely prayer on this actually as well. You know the prayer, Oh Mary, and you kind of go through it all with them. And all of a sudden, the conversation would change into a nice little spiritual encounter.
Beautiful.
Or a
yes.
faith encounter. That the medal was already working its own
Absolutely.
miracle.
It was wonderful. When we were children, Father, we went to the Miraculous Medal every Monday in Colester. And there was no church in Raheny at this stage. Well, there was a very old church, but we used to walk up to Colester Church with my mum on a Friday, on a Monday evening.
Lovely. And Mary Fitzpatrick, she includes the Miraculous Medal Novena here every
yes,
Monday, I think, in the prayers. So that's lovely. We're continuing it here on Radio Maria as well. And like that, it's always good to be armed with a little bundle of medals to give away to grandchildren, or again to whoever. I usually have a few in the door of the car.
Who'd like them,
that I
yes.
have handy. You just never know who you might reach or touch with
But
it.
there's so many people, Father, wouldn't possibly don't know anything about them too nowadays,
That's it.
you know.
That's it. And you give one away, and it's extraordinary. There's some amazing stories associated with the Miraculous Medal. I think Charles Newman is one extraordinary story. A man who was in prison and on death row, and he, one of the prisoners was wearing a medal, and he threw it off himself and threw it away and didn't have disregard for it. But this man picked it up. Claude Newman, isn't it? Claude Newman. He picked it up and put it on. Now he had no faith. There was nothing there at all. And Our Lady appeared to him, and he got kind of infused knowledge of the faith, massive conversion, and he offered the rest of his suffering then, knowing that he was going to meet the electric chair eventually on behalf of his fellow prisoners. And in particular, one prisoner who was in need of, had committed serious crimes and was in need of conversion and blasphemed God and just rejected religion and wouldn't see the priest and all these things. But Claude was because he had this vision of Our Lady, he was looking forward to going to heaven
to
and
meeting her.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And then the day he was due to be executed, there was a stay of execution, and the priest came in and because he'd asked for the priest, he had no idea, this wasn't a thing in his life at all before this encounter with Our Lady. And the priest came in and told him, great news, Claude, a stay of execution, And he was so bitterly disappointed because he was so looking forward to dying and going to heaven. So he couldn't get over it. So he said, when is this? And so I think the stay of execution was a month or some. And so the priest said to him, well, look, maybe this is Our Lady's will, God's will for you, that you can offer this time on behalf of other prisoners, and maybe especially this particular prisoner.
Share the word, spread the word, yes.
Yeah, and so this other prisoner then, he said, look, I'll sacrifice everything on his behalf then. And so eventually the day of execution did come, and he was executed and died and so on. And then the time for this really unrepentant prisoner came for his execution. This is going back into the 1940s or something.
Oh, gosh.
So it doesn't happen, I don't think, in the same way now. But anyway, his time came, and the priest would always, apparently the rule of the priest would be there to witness it and maybe to pray for them.
Yes.
But this man did not want to see the priest. Absolutely no way. Just get him out of here, unrepentant to the very last.
Gosh.
So it came to just the moment before they're going to flip the switch and, any last requests and that. And all of a sudden he sat bolt upright and said, get me the priest now,
Oh, gosh.
all of a sudden. And they all saw the look of horror that was on his face that just came over him. And so the priest happened to be there behind the screen, kind of out of sight from him, and he came in and he said, clear the room, I need to make my confession. And so they all cleared the room, and they, just final wishes and whatever. and he had his confession and he got absolution, and he went to the chair. But the prison officer at the end, I suppose the governor of the prison, said, what happened?
Yes.
How on earth did he suddenly change? And the priest said, well, he told me that Claude appeared to him.
Right.
And he was with Our Lady, and he was given permission to see the judgment that he was going to face.
Oh my
and
gosh.
and hell that he was
Right, he was going to
destined
see, yes.
to go to if he didn't repent. And he said, I figured it out then. And then that's obviously what it got him to the priest into absolution.
Beautiful.
So kind of a double miraculous medal story.
That's wonderful,
story.
yes, yes. See, a lot of people don't believe in God, and they don't think that He's there for them.
And that's where something like a sacramental like the medal can bring about a change, a conversion, miraculously in its own way. Good. You might have miraculous medal stories yourself, and share them with us by all means, or maybe other questions or contributions to make to the programme here. We'll take a brief breather. We've been kind of ran overtime a small bit, really. But Michael Jonkus is our song break. He was looking after us there. A voice cries out. So do please get in touch. 089 467 2000 is the text and WhatsApp. Email info@radiomaria.ie. Give a call on the phone 014 123456. So we'll be back after this little piece of music.
Console my people, the ones dear to me. Speak to the heart of Jerusalem. The time of your mourning is ended now. The Lord of life will come. A voice cries out in the wilderness, prepare a way for the Lord. A voice cries out in the wilderness, make straight a highway for God. Every valley is made a plain. Every mountain is leveled. The glory of God shall then be revealed, and the nations will sing in praise. A voice cries out in the wilderness, prepare a way for the Lord. A voice cries out in the wilderness, make straight a highway for God. A voice shall cry, oh, what shall I cry? All flesh is like grass and its flowers. The grass may wither, the flowers may fade, but the word of the Lord is forever. A voice cries out in the wilderness, prepare a way for the Lord. A voice cries out in the wilderness, make straight a highway for God.
Hi everyone, Father Marius here, and I hope you're enjoying listening to Radio Maria Ireland, because I certainly love to listen to the radio station. I came across an elderly person recently who was telling me they were very alone at home, felt a bit isolated. I told them they could get Radio Maria Ireland on their television set, channel 210 on Fairview. So maybe you can do the same. Maybe there's a neighbour there or someone you know who's in some way impaired, that you could help them to access Radio Maria Ireland from their television set on Fairview, channel 210.
Very good. Thanks to Father Marius. He popped in there a week or two ago and did a series of jingles for us there. These little,
It's wonderful.
So doing great work all together indeed. And I'm just looking for I know there's an email or text he sent me now. It's gone from under my finger. I'll find it, of course, later on. But he's having a novena of rosaries, which, please God, will culminate. It's a coastal rosary, wasn't it? The email. Let me see if I can. There it is. A 9-day rosary novena. So he says, dear friends, as you know, there's urgent need for prayer on the island of Ireland. There's always urgent need for prayer, for sure. our ancestors always knew what to do. They turned to our Heavenly Mother. So we're inviting you, he says, to join in a 9-day Rosary Novena. We'll pray at 9 p.m. together each evening from Tuesday, the 30th of November, this coming Tuesday, to Wednesday, December the 8th, when we celebrate Our Lady's Immaculate Conception. So if you wish to gather together to pray, please do so safely. So join us on Radio Maria, of course, 9 o'clock every evening. But please God, the Primate of all Ireland, Archbishop Eamonn Martin, will lead the final Rosary live here on Radio Maria on December the 8th at 9 p.m.
Oh, wonderful.
So it'll be lovely to have Archbishop Eamonn Martin join us for the Rosary there. A great devotee, certainly, of Our Blessed Lady, great advocate indeed and supporter of the radio as well too. So very much looking forward to that. So thanks to that, Father Marius, and fair dues to him. Let's see. Oh yes, it was Katharina there who texted in about the Miraculous Medal, and she was there was a program on EWTN. You were good at tuning in there as well on the Miraculous Medal, and indeed she's echoing the same thing we're saying, how much we're in need of Our Lady's intervention today. Yeah, there's the question from Liam, is the knot already tied on the Miraculous Medal that Father Eamonn gives out? No, I was saying that, Liam, that what I do is they come with strings on, and the knot, I suppose they're tied onto the middle, all right, but the other end there's no knot. And so while I'm talking to people, that's my excuse to delay. While I'm tying this knot, I'm just explaining to you. And it's just a handy little way of evangelizing as we're doing it. And thanks to Nora, she says a little rhyme for the Miraculous Medal. M is for Mary. She carried the cross, 2 little hearts and 12 little stars. A short little way of remembering the images on the medal. I suppose I've given out so many at this stage, and I've explained it to so many people. And I used to do it in school, in fact, and to be always around this time, the 27th of November, in the schools, I take the opportunity of going into the classrooms, and I bring a big bundle of Miraculous Medals.
For the children?
And I'd have, secondary school children. I'd have small little gold ones, or the bigger silver ones, because the girls would usually like the little gold ones. And so I'd go through the whole story. I'd tell them the story of Claude Newman as well. I'd have that on a sheet. I'd hand that out to everybody, and we'd go through the story they'd have it in front of them. And I said, well, look, I've been there. I've been to the Rutabaga. I've seen her incorrupt body. Now you tell me. I'm scratching my head, but if that suggests that, her body has remained uncorrupted or incorrupt, then surely it's a pointing to the everlasting life of heaven. And I'd let them scratch their heads for a while and go figure that one out and explain that to me. And then, of course, I'd get the Miraculous Medals. I'd have some holy water, and I'd bless them in front of them all. I'd say, now, if you'd like to medal, you don't have to take one. You don't have to, but
I'm
you're
sure
welcome
you all
to take
wanted
one.
So, Father.
Yeah, I just go around the medals, and all who want one would take one. The odd student, I think, not that many, very few actually would refuse. Most of them would. And I said, put a knot in it and put it around your neck and keep it safe. And I'm not saying, this is all very important on this one, it's not a good luck charm.
Oh no,
it's not a lucky token.
No. It's a blessing.
Yeah, because I used to tell the story about a man I know. I used to tell this one as well. That his exams, especially their exam students, he'd have his books handy and on whatever topic it was he was being examined on. He'd say a prayer. It's very important to say the prayer first. Then he'd have his medal on him. Of course, he'd get out his medal and he'd flick through the book and he'd put the medal into it, and wherever the medal would poke into the book, he'd open the page.
Would that be the question you get in the exam?
Yeah, and he said it always worked for him.
Oh my goodness!
But I used to qualify the story because I said, well, I've tried it and it really didn't work that well for me. Maybe I didn't study hard enough, because he used to study hard too. So in that sense, it's not the kind of lucky charm to pass your exams if you've no work done.
No, absolutely not.
Good luck with that. So, no, it's like all the sacramentals, they're a great blessing and a great gift and a great source of comfort and direction for us. And again, like that, there's any number of stories associated with the medal. I think St. John Henry Newman would attribute, at least he used to wear a Miraculous Medal before his conversion, that had brought him into Catholicism, his love for Our Lady.
Yes.
And there's an extraordinary story of the two the Ratisbon brothers, Alfonso Ratisbon, his brother, they had infused faith or infused knowledge with an encounter with Our Lady, and both became priests and became tremendous missionaries for the faith to the Jews, their brother and
Wonderful.
sister, the Jewish people. But again, through the Miraculous Medal. It's a
fantastic,
famous story
yes.
as well. So it's lovely. It's again, such extraordinary interventions of Our Lady in our times. And you can fast forward, if you like, or if you look at 1830 was the year that the medal was introduced. Our Lady gave the medal to St. Catherine, but it was 1854, 24 years later, when the notion of O Mary conceived without sin became a dogma in the Church, the Immaculate Conception.
She was young, Father, when she got it initially.
Of course,
Yes.
indeed, yeah. And so it was like ratification from heaven of the teaching of the Church.
Yes.
Our Lady kind of ratifying that. So, and from there, of course, Lourdes in 1858. So you have 1830, 1854, 1858. And what does Our Lady say her name is to Saint Bernadette?
Oh, Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal.
No, it was similar, but I am the Immaculate Conception.
Yeah, the Immaculate Conception, yes.
I am the Immaculate Conception. And that's how the parish priest knew that Saint Bernadette was telling the truth. Because she was a completely uneducated girl.
Yeah, she wouldn't have known that.
No idea what that meant. And so when she told that to the parish priest, he said, okay. He sat up and paid attention then. So fascinating connections there.
Wonderful.
In those. And France beleaguered, of course, in those years after the French Revolution, 1798. And that had its own knock-on effect here in Ireland, of course, too. But France, the eldest daughter of the Church, almost kind of getting washed up a little bit in the faith. But great saints like St. Catherine Laborie, St. Louise Marillac, St. Vincent de Paul, all around that time. And of course, later on that century, St. Therese of Lisieux.
Yes, wonderful.
Tremendous saints, among many others, in France, that the Lord raised up incredible holy people for the times that were in it. You know.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we could go on, but time does not
Time's
permit.
flying.
Time does not permit. So we better take our leave of you. Thank you indeed for joining us and keeping us company today. Visually, that is. Please stay tuned in audibly as we come to 12 o'clock. So thanks, Roisin.
Thank you, Father. It's wonderful to be able to come here and learn so much. Thank you.
Share the faith. You're welcome. Share the faith. Good. It's nearly 12. Thanks to Eve at the mixing desk. We'll pause now and we'll allow our bells to toll and we'll return with our Angelus and our midday prayer.